They were too fast for their time, too advanced for the rules, and too wild for the streets. Some were banned outright, others quietly disappeared, as if Japan wanted the world to forget they ever existed. But not anymore, because today we're opening the vault on the machines that rewrote the rulebook and paid the price for it. These are the 12 banned Japanese cars that automakers don't want you to remember. Number 12, 1998 Honda Civic Type R EK9. It didn't look dangerous, it didn't roar like a supercar or wear a badge that screamed power. But make no mistake, the 1998 Honda Civic Type R was a street weapon dressed like a commuter. Born during Japan's performance golden age, the EK9 was Honda's first Civic to wear the red badge. Under the hood lived a hand-built 1.6-liter B16 engine. Tiny, sure, but capable of spinning up to 8,400 RPM and producing 185 horsepower from just 4 cylinders. That gave it more horsepower per liter than most Ferraris of the era. Honda stripped everything unnecessary. No sound insulation, no luxury extras, no automatic options, just pure mechanical precision. The EK9 was lightweight, razor sharp, and engineered to dominate Japan's narrow mountain roads. But that's exactly what got it blacklisted. In markets like New Zealand, the UK, and parts of Australia, regulators restricted imports due to its extreme power-to-weight ratio and lack of safety features like airbags and reinforced doors. Even in the United States, it never passed DOT or EPA certification, meaning every Civic Type R that touched US soil was technically illegal until the 25-year import rule kicked in. What looked like an ordinary hatchback became one of the most forbidden tuner icons of the late 90s. Light, loud, and lethal in the right hands. A wolf in commuter clothing. Number 11, 1990 Nissan 300 ZXZ Twin Turbo Z32. It was sleek, sophisticated, and deceptively civilized. The kind of car you'd expect to see parked outside an office building, not banned from insurance lists. But underneath its curvy, understated shell, the 1990 Nissan 300 ZX Twin Turbo was a time bomb of horsepower just waiting to be lit. Powered by Nissan's legendary VG30, a 3.0-liter twin-turbocharged V6, the Z32 delivered 300 horsepower and 283 pound-feet of torque, numbers that nudged dangerously close to supercar territory in the early 90s. 0 to 60 came in just 5 seconds flat. That was Ferrari performance, at a third of the price, and that was the problem. It made supercar speed too affordable, putting 300 horsepower into the hands of young drivers who frankly weren't ready for it. Insurance companies flagged it, licensing boards restricted it. In Australia and parts of the US, the 300ZX quietly disappeared from sales lists for younger drivers. Technologically, it was ahead of its time. Four-wheel steering, electronically adjustable suspension, and a chassis that danced through corners. But its complexity and high maintenance costs made it both expensive to keep and easy to blame when things went wrong. For a few short years, it was the everyman's Ferrari, until regulators decided it was too much car for too little money. Number 10, 1994 Toyota Celica GT-Four ST205. It was born for rally stages, built not to look good, but to win at any cost. The 1994 Toyota Celica GT-Four ST205 was the ultimate evolution of Toyota's rally-bred monsters. It had one mission: destroy Subaru and Mitsubishi on dirt, gravel, and tarmac. Under the hood sat a 2.0-liter turbocharged 3S GTE engine, pushing out 255 horsepower and 224 pound-feet of torque. Coupled with all-wheel drive, a lightweight frame, and rally-spec suspension, the ST205 was a weapon disguised as a liftback coupe. But it didn't get banned for being too fast. It got banned for cheating too well. In 1995, FIA inspectors discovered a hidden bypass mechanism in the Celica's turbo restrictor, a small, brilliant, and completely illegal piece of engineering that allowed more air into the turbo, giving it a massive power boost mid-race. It was a trick so clever that FIA officials called it the most sophisticated cheating device we've ever seen. The result? Toyota was hit with one of the harshest penalties in motorsport history, a 12-month WRC ban. The ST205's reputation was shattered overnight, and its production life ended soon after. Street versions were suddenly treated like guilty accomplices, with import restrictions tightening in several regions. A car built to dominate became a symbol of scandal, its brilliance buried under the weight of its own genius. Number 9, 1993 Subaru Legacy RS Type R. At first glance, it looked like a company car, something you'd see in a taxi lineup or a business parking lot, but beneath that plain exterior lived a rally-bred monster that regulators wanted nothing to do with. The 1993 Subaru Legacy RS Type R was never meant for comfort. It was built to satisfy Group A rally homologation, meaning Subaru had to sell a road version of its race car, no matter how brutal it was. So they stripped it to the bone. No airbags, no sound insulation, no power windows, just a 2.0-liter turbocharged flat-four pushing 237 horsepower and 228 pound-feet of torque, mated to a close ratio 5-speed gearbox and an all-wheel drive system tuned for gravel. This car wasn't built to cruise, it was built to claw through mountain roads sideways at 100 miles per hour. But when importers tried to bring it overseas, they ran into a brick wall of regulations. The lack of crash safety features, combined with Japan-only certification and emissions hurdles, got it flagged by the DOT and blacklisted in multiple countries, including the US and Australia. What made it legendary wasn't just its rarity, it's that it inspired the car that replaced it, the Subaru Impreza WRX, one of rally's greatest icons. But the Legacy RS Type R remains the car that started it all, banned, forgotten, and gloriously misunderstood. Number 8. 1989 Mazda Eunos Cosmo 20B. At first glance, it looked like a luxury cruiser. Smooth lines, soft curves, the kind of car you'd expect to glide silently down Tokyo's expressways. But under its elegant skin, the 1989 Mazda Eunos Cosmo 20B hid something absolutely unhinged. Mazda didn't just build a flagship, they built a technological time machine. It was the first and only production car in history to feature a 3-rotor 20B Wankel engine paired with twin sequential turbochargers. That setup produced 280 horsepower and nearly 300 pound-feet of torque, launching this 2-ton Grand Tourer from 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds in 1989. Inside, it was like stepping into the future. A touchscreen infotainment system, GPS navigation, and digital climate control, years before any other automaker even dreamed of it. Mazda wasn't just pushing boundaries, they were tearing up the rulebook. But there was one problem: the world wasn't ready. The rotary engine's sky-high fuel consumption and dirty emissions clashed hard with tightening environmental laws. When importers tried to bring the Cosmo overseas, it failed emissions tests everywhere it went. The US, Europe, Australia, even Japan treated it like a rare experiment gone too far. Mazda quietly shelved the engine, ending the dream of the 3-rotor. The Eunos Cosmo became a forbidden legend, too advanced, too thirsty, and too weird for the world that came after it. Number 7. 1998 Nissan Stagea 260 RS Autotech. It looked like a family wagon, boxy, understated, the kind of car you'd expect to see hauling groceries, not embarrassing supercars. But the 1998 Nissan Stagea 260 RS Autotech wasn't your neighbor's grocery getter. It was a Skyline GT-R in disguise. Built by Nissan's Special Ops division, Autotech, the Stagea 260 RS shared more DNA with the R33 GT-R than with any family car. Under the hood sat the same RB26 twin-turbo inline-six, pumping out 276 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 5-speed manual transmission and a Tesla ETS all-wheel drive straight from the GT-R itself. Even the suspension and brakes were GT-R spec. On paper, it was the ultimate sleeper, a car that could haul kids, furniture, and destroy Porsches before you even hit the highway on ramp. But that's also what got it into trouble. Regulators weren't amused by the idea of a wagon that could outrun sports cars, especially one never officially tested for emissions or crash safety outside Japan. In countries like Australia, New Zealand, and the US, import restrictions and lack of compliance data kept it off the road for decades. Nissan never exported it, pretending it was just a domestic curiosity. But among enthusiasts, the 260 RS became a legend, the forbidden GT-R hidden in plain sight. Number 6. 1996 Toyota Century V12. It didn't roar, it whispered. No spoilers, no stripes, no turbo badges, just quiet dominance. The 1996 Toyota Century V12 wasn't built to impress the public, it was built to serve Japan's elite, CEOs, diplomats, and even the emperor himself. Under its stately old money exterior sat something Toyota had never built before, and has never built since. A 5.0-liter 1GZ V12 engine, silky smooth, eerily silent, and hand-assembled by master craftsmen, It produced 276 horsepower and 355 pound-feet of torque. Numbers that sound modest until you remember how effortlessly it delivered them. Everything about the Century was over-engineered. The cabin was wrapped in soundproofing so thick you could barely hear the outside world. Rear seats reclined like first-class airline pods. Even the curtains were motorized. But this kind of power came with a price. Secrecy. Toyota never exported the V12 Century, not because it didn't want to share, but because it couldn't. Its massive displacement failed US emission standards, and European safety laws were far stricter. Any privately imported units were slapped with heavy taxes, refused registration, or quietly banned altogether. So Toyota kept it at home, hidden behind tinted windows and government convoys. Number 5. 1993 Honda NSX Type R. Most cars are built to impress. This one was built to terrify. Not with its looks, but with how brutally honest it was. The 1993 Honda NSX Type R wasn't a redesign, it was a purification. Honda stripped the standard NSX of everything that made it comfortable. Insulation, sound deadening, even the stereo, leaving behind a machine that was 265 pounds lighter and infinitely more dangerous. Under the engine cover sat the hand-built 3.0-liter V6 known as the C30A, producing 276 horsepower and revving to a Banshee-like 8,000 RPM. With titanium connecting rods, razor-sharp throttle response, and a chassis tuned to perfection, the NSX-R wasn't just fast. It was surgical, but that precision came with a problem. It was too extreme for the road. Japan sold it only to a small group of experienced drivers who could handle it, and even then, buyers had to sign paperwork acknowledging it wasn't intended for casual use. When importers tried to bring the NSX-R to the US or Europe, regulators refused to touch it. No airbags, no compliance tests, no compromises. In most countries, the car simply wasn't legal to drive. For years, it lived in the shadows, the forbidden halo car, an engineering masterpiece designed not for comfort or fame, but for those who could master it. A reminder that perfection isn't always safe. Number 4. 1998 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 Tommy Mäkinen Edition. It wasn't named after a driver by accident. The 1998 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 Tommy Mäkinen Edition was the road-going tribute to one of rally's fiercest champions, and it was every bit as wild as the man himself. At its core, it packed a 2.0-liter 4G63 turbocharged engine pushing 276 horsepower through Mitsubishi's legendary active yaw control all-wheel drive system. It cornered like a scalpel and accelerated like it was allergic to staying still. On the surface, it looked like a standard Lancer until you saw the flared arches, the front-mounted intercooler, and the Tommy Mäkinen racing stripes that screamed, "Don't even try." It wasn't just fast, it was feral. But when importers tried to bring it to markets like the US, regulators slammed the door shut. The car didn't meet emissions, crash, or safety standards, and Mitsubishi had no plans to certify it for overseas sale. Even in countries where it did sneak through, it was often denied registration or slapped with restrictions meant for track-only cars. It became a gray market legend, a rally monster too advanced for its own good. Number 3. 1998 Toyota Chaser Avante Twin Turbo. The 1998 Toyota Chaser Avante Twin Turbo was the kind of car that could smoke sports coupes while looking like a company sedan. Underneath that executive body lived the 1JZ, a 2.5-liter twin-turbo inline-six, the same bloodline that powered Supras and Soarers. It pumped out 280 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque sent straight to the rear wheels. And with a chassis that balanced precision and brutality, it became a cult favorite among Japanese street racers. But that versatility, practical during the week, terrifying on the weekend, made it a target. In places like Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Europe, regulators flagged it almost immediately. Its power-to-weight ratio, rear-wheel drive layout, and lack of part support got it blacklisted by insurers and restricted by import authorities. The US never got it at all. Gray market units that slipped through customs were often seized or turned away over emissions issues and VIN mismatches. Even today, the Chaser sits in a gray area, legal only under the 25-year rule and still a nightmare to register in some countries. Toyota never advertised it as a performance car, that was part of the disguise. But those who knew. It was a business sedan that moonlighted as a getaway car, and for years, it was one of the most dangerous secrets in Japan's lineup. Number 2. 2002 Nissan Skyline GT-R V-Spec 2 Newer. By 2002, the world thought it had seen the final form of Japan's ultimate supercar killer. Then Nissan dropped the Skyline GT-R V-Spec 2 and everything changed. This wasn't just another R34, it was the final evolution of the GT-R bloodline before the name went global. A car so advanced it bordered on supernatural. Under the hood roared the RB26 Spec engine, hand-built by Nissan's finest and capable of producing far more than the officially quoted 276 horsepower. Rumors swirled that some made over 450 horsepower straight from the factory. A carbon fiber hood, upgraded cooling, and race-derived brakes made it as close to a street-legal Le Mans car as Japan ever allowed. But if you lived outside Japan, you weren't getting one. The V-Spec 2 was never officially exported. Not to the US, not to Europe, not anywhere. No crash testing, no emissions certification, no chance. And when a few brave importers tried, customs agents seized or crushed the cars under federal violation. Even after the 25-year rule began to open the gates, the Nur remained a nightmare to import. VIN discrepancies, right-hand drive restrictions, and insane valuation spikes. Today, it's a collector's ghost, a forbidden legend that represents the absolute peak of Japan's golden era of engineering. Number 1. 1995 Nissan GT-R Nismo 400R. Some cars are fast, others are legends. But the 1995 Nissan GT-R Nismo 400R, that was forbidden perfection. Built by Nismo, Nissan's in-house racing division, the 400R was the wildest version of the R33 Skyline ever made. Created not for the masses, but for those who understood what they were truly getting into. Under the hood sat a hand-built RBX GT2 engine, a reinforced 2.8-liter twin-turbo straight-six capable of 400 horsepower and 347 pound-feet of torque. It could rocket from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat and hit speeds that most supercars of the 90s could only dream about. But this wasn't just power, it was precision. A carbon drive shaft, racing clutch, wide body aero, upgraded suspension, and brakes straight from the track made it a road-legal race car, barely. Nissan only built 44 units. They were never crash tested, never certified, and never meant to leave Japan. Anyone who tried to import one faced a wall of DOT refusals, EPA rejections, and customs nightmares. Even today, the 400R sits in a special legal limbo, technically eligible for import under the 25-year rule, yet still burdened with endless red tape and sky-high collector prices.